I was I think like the biggest disconnect with any of these things is just people not understanding government. Or, like how it works. It's just like, oh, this is my time. I have a reason to make it frustrated. Okay. Oh, he actually is talking to him. It's illegal. Like when he called and I sent it to counsel in Rodrigo, we were like, it's already illegal. That is crazy. Yeah. It wasn't connected to our side. But completely fabricated. But I should have done that would have been the end of it. But you're gonna Exactly. Yeah, that's fine. That's then I come up to the podium and public. I'm kind of like that. Do you better? Oh, okay. Great. We're gonna go technology.
Good evening, everyone. Hey, good evening, everyone. I think it's about 5:45 p.m. We are going to call our town hall meeting to order. Thank you all for joining us this evening. I will defer to our Budget and Finance Committee Chair, Vice President Green.
Good evening, everyone. Once again, thank you for being here. Tonight is the second of our town halls to discuss the ARPA money, the federal money that was given to the city of Harrisburg by the federal government in order to mitigate some of the impacts of COVID. We will have a presentation tonight from the administration going over the proposal that they put forth for spending over $27 million of the ARPA funds. After that, we will have a question and answer or comment portion where anyone can feel free to get up, give their public comments, talk about the plan itself, things you might like, things you might love, things you might like to see changed or feel they're missing. So I'm going to turn it over to the administration to get things started. And then after that presentation, we'll open it up for question and answers and comments. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Dealing with a little bit of wonky technology here, so I'm gonna have to go back and forth, and if the screen kicks out, just raise your hand to let me know. So I'm gonna go through the PowerPoint. I have to go back and forth here because I don't have a clicker, so you see me doing that, that's why. So to outline just the plan overall, $47 million, just over that, was received last year from the federal government as part of the American Rescue Plan Act. In June 2022, Council made their first appropriation of funds from the ARPA money. $5.5 million went to replace the HVAC system, which was over 70 years old in the public safety building. 1.26 million went to first responder bonuses to the police and fire department, and $8.8 million went to cover lost revenue that the city had lost due to the impacts of COVID. So what we're here to talk about today is the second part. The second part of the plan is $28.1 million. To give you just some loose groupings, which you'll hear about a little bit more from others, is $14.5 million to address affordable housing, home repairs, delinquent trash utility bills, small business grants. Denise Hill's here to do that presentation, and she will, right after I finish mine, come up and talk a little bit about that. Following after Denise, then will be Dave Baker to talk about $10 million for park and land improvements here in the city. There are two other components that I'm going to briefly touch on here for the public. We do not have the department heads from those departments here to talk about them, but they are $1.5 million to help demolish properties. That's on the city's demolition list, and then $900,000 for upgrades to the Bureau of Fire's radio system. Okay, so currently there are 111 buildings right now in the city that are listed as grade one grade one condemned buildings that are listed to be demolished. Just to give you a point of reference with what funding we already have, in 2022, we were able to demolish 16 properties. 11 of them were done with in-house staff, 5 were done through contract. So what we're looking at with this additional $1.5 million for next year is to go through and demolish between another 24 and 35 additional structures. So next year we'll be able to really put a dent in that number. So we'll be somewhere between 40 and 50 houses demolished. Next slide. And just to give everybody a little bit of background on the homes that would be demolished, once the appropriation happens, the Bureau of Codes and Department of Public Works are going to work together on the best use of those funds. It will most likely, because of the complexity of some things, be some contracting, but there will be in-house work, in-house workers doing things. But there will be attention and detail paid on where the houses are being demolished. So it won't just be moving around to different spots with no rhyme or reason. So we're going to look at how we can get economies of scale and best use of that money. As part of that, Codes and Public Works will be coming to City Council to do quarterly update meetings, something they do normally, but this will be addressed as part of that. One of the most interesting components of the plan is $900,000 for the Bureau of Fire's radio system. As it stands right now, the system that they're using is past its usable life. It's 14 plus years old. These radio systems typically last about 12 years, but Chief Enterline and the people at the Bureau of Fire have done a really good job in maintaining these. As it stands right now, one of the worst kept secrets with the Bureau of Fire are the amount of calls the fire department's handling outside of city limits. We do our best to make sure that fire protection is countywide, region-wide. We even go over to the West Shore. So they are answering a lot of calls outside of the city to help address the volunteer shortfall. This upgrade's going to allow our system to better integrate with the volunteer companies in places like Susquehanna on the West Shore, Lower Paxton, where they are handling quite a bit of calls. With everything as a whole, there's an administrative cost to handle this. So the administration is requesting $1.2 million to cover the administrative costs of what we're doing. You know, you'll see in the next 2 presentations some of the projects they're working on, but there is an administrative side of things. So 1.2 million of the 28.1 being requested is for the administrative ask. One of the pieces we got out last night for the public to understand is there's still money that's left over that council can choose to either appropriate now or at a later date. It could be for existing programming that we're looking at in the plan or new programming. They can do it now or they can do it later. They can keep it as a fund there to account for any new things that pop up or any additional costs that may arise. So there is $3 million sitting there that can be appropriated at another time. But I will add that council has until the end of 2024 to obligate these funds, and we have until the end of 2026 to actually have them spent. Lastly, just looking at future needs. We do anticipate a need at some point next year to have an open dialogue on budgeting and future legislation. Dollars that aren't spent, what we want to make sure we do is we don't have to return anything to the federal government. So there's going to be a conversation at some point throughout the rest of this year and into 2024, where we're going to have to assess the programs, the money that's spent, the money that's not spent, and the likelihood of the money being able to be spent. Because like I said, by December 31st of 2024, we have to have this money earmarked. So the mayor's prepared to work with council to make sure every one of these dollars is spent. So as we do go through this process, you will probably hear, even going into next year, of hearings or meetings like this to talk about funds. Because as we do outline, and you'll see in Denise and Dave's presentation, these are loose-based numbers. We could not, by law, go out and physically do design work or anything without a program approval or appropriation. So where some of these numbers are nice round numbers now, they may come in above or below, where they're at. We're hoping below. If that's the case, there will be the ability to go back and move some more money around to get more money out into the community to help folks. So that is from 30,000 feet, a view of it. What we're going to do now is hand it over to Denise to talk about her 14.5 million, and then followed by that will be Dave Baker.
Good evening, everyone. I am Denise Hill. I am the Director of Housing and Economic Development for the City of Harrisburg. And I'll be going through 4 proposed programs with the ARPA funds out of Department of Building and Housing Development. The first is an affordable housing program, $8 million would go towards the construction or major renovation of affordable housing for low to moderate income residents within the city. The standards will mirror those of a HUD program that my office currently runs, which is the Home Development Program. And you'll hear me repeat this throughout the brief presentation tonight. We have mirrored all 4 programs to follow the guidelines of a program that is already in place or one that has been previously run within the most recent history. On this slide, you'll see this is a block at 15th and Swadera Street. These are homes that were completed under current home development funds. So this would be similar to what you would see with the $8 million allotted out of the proposed project. Next, we have a proposed $5 million going towards homeowner occupied upgrades and safety precautions made to homeowners within the city. Again, they would benefit low to moderate income residents. $10,000 would be allotted per household to do basic needs. So that would be roof, HVAC, plumbing, and electrical. No cosmetic work would be done, but contractors would be paid directly. And those contractors would be vetted through the city to make sure that they are in good standing. This mirrors our Housing Rehabilitation Program, or HRP, that is currently run out of DBHD. Here you'll see before and after pictures of some of the projects that we've already done through HRP, helping to bring houses up to code and keep them safe and allow residents to remain in their home. The third program is a utility assistance program that we would run, helping to pay on back utility bills within the city for low to moderate income individuals. The months of eligibility, as you'll see here, are March 2020 to March 2022, so that none of these bills would be predating the pandemic. So it would be to help individuals to catch up that fell on hard times, were laid off, lost a job, had a negative impact because of COVID. And then lastly, there's $500,000 proposed to go in $10,000 microloans to small businesses that were negatively impacted and affected by COVID. And the standards and eligibility would mirror the Neighborhood Business Stabilization Grant Program that was previously run by DBHD. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is David Baker. I'm the Parks and Facilities Director for the City of Harrisburg. Before I get started, I just want to let you guys know I have some family obligations that I might need to attend to this afternoon, so I will stay as long as I can for any questions afterwards. Can you hear me? All right, sorry. I was saying I will stay as long as I can this afternoon. I have some family obligations I have to attend to for any questions anyone may have. I'm the Parks and Facilities Director for the city, and we will be discussing 3 separate pots of money for the ARPA spend. The first one we'll start with is the slide. There we go. We're talking about the Hall Manor Pool. As you can see, it was built in 1968. This pool has more than doubled its expected lifespan. If you go to the next slide, you can see just a few of the many, many pictures we have of the completely failed infrastructural mechanical system in this pool. It's not really an option anymore to continue repairs on the pool. So the next best thing we have for the community is the proposal of a spray park or an aquatic facility. This facility would allow us to keep our youth and everyone of all ages entertained throughout the summer. With facilities such as this, we can actually span the useful timeline of this facility. You can use it for much more than just 2 or 3 months out of the year. There are many options nowadays that we could possibly get up to 8 months or more per year out of this. We plan on having numerous walking trails and biking trails, since the majority of the individuals who use the pool walk or bike to them. There are many different options for these facilities, and again, lots and lots of pictures if anybody has any additional questions. Some of this shows how these facilities can tailor all different ability levels. So that's something I think is important to explain to people, is that it doesn't matter your age or your ability level, you can enjoy items such as this. The last portion of this aquatic facility would be community centers within the facility, where you could enjoy anything such as a baby shower or birthday parties, you name it. That's what we'll have some facilities on site to celebrate that with. And then we'd also like to promote small business incubators. So if you have a local restaurant or food truck, you can get your name out there and have the community enjoy your services at the same time. The next pot of money would be $1.5 million for an ADA specific, really a destination park. So this park would specifically target individuals with any type of disability. So there would be many different types of play structures there than what you would typically be used to seeing. It's my hope and goal that if we are successful with something such as this, that people from all around would come to visit because it'd be a sought after thing and maybe become more and more popular throughout the area. This slide just shows you some of the types of play structures that we can also incorporate in any of these areas. And this is more like kinetic play and music play, just to really stimulate different parts of the brain and get our kids exposed to all different types of things. This last pot would be $500,000 for tree removal for the residents. As everybody that lives here knows, we have a pretty excessive tree problem in the city. We have a lot of aged trees that have seen their lifespans, and most of them are inappropriate species for where they're planted. This would allow us to start getting ahead, or at least catching up to the issue we're seeing with everyone's trees that are currently in their areas. This is just a typical picture you see going down an alley in Harrisburg. And a little number there, it shows you we spent over $300,000 last year taking care of street trees throughout the city. And, it's just going to continue to happen. So it is something we do need to address. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you to the administration for that presentation on the proposed spending for the ARPA funds. We're going to get the lights turned back on here. Right now, we're going to open it back up for anyone who has any questions or comments on the spending plan. If you have any ideas on ways that you'd like the funds to be spent that weren't mentioned, please feel free to mention those as well. For the federal funds, there are overarching categories in which the funds can be spent, which include to replace lost public sector revenue, respond to far-fetching public health and negative economic impacts of the pandemic, provide premium pay for essential workers, and invest in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. So as long as it fits into one of those major categories, it is an option for the city to spend funds on. So we're going to open it up. It's pretty informal. So you just come to this microphone here, make any comments or questions. It doesn't have to be long comments. We'll answer what we can if we can. But no matter what, we'll be making sure we take note of these. So feel free one at a time to just come up. Yes, I will repeat the categories again. The categories are replace lost public sector revenue, respond to far-reaching public health and negative economic impacts of the pandemic, provide premium pay for essential workers, and invest in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. The floor is now open. I will say that we ask that you keep your comments to 4 minutes at maximum so that everyone has a chance to speak. Anyone who is not able to attend today that may be listening, you can also email public comments to publiccomments@harrisburgpa.gov, and all comments will be relayed to every member of City Council. Thank you.
Good evening. Sorry to have my back to the, okay, just the group. There used to be a sign above the Y when I go down the street that said, "And how are the children?" And we all know that's an African tribal way of greeting people. Instead of saying, "How are you doing? How's your day?" It was, "How are the children?" Because it was a discussion about how your society would be based on how you treat and respond to your children. So right here in this YMCA over 50 years ago, we had a program that we brought children from all around the city together every day for 3 years. We fed them, we clothed them, took them to school. We met with their parents on our breaks, took them on field trips. They had a mini bike program. We taught them about African history so they could be proud of themselves. None of these things exist anymore. And so when I look at your plan, I don't see anything in there that is addressing the needs of our children. We're talking about the young children, the babies going to play parks and that kind of stuff. You're missing the entire generation of our young folks who are now, because there has been no attention given to them out in the streets creating the mayhem that we see right now. And while it's going on, this administration is still not addressing it. So I would like to see if there is anything that we can do or can talk about where we can put some funding into the programs that we know our children need to be successful. Because right now we're doing nothing. The other question I'd like to know is, with $8 million, how many houses, affordable houses, can that build? I'm just curious. Because it seems like a rather small amount of money, particularly for the need that we have in the community. And I'll stop there.
Hi, good evening. First, I'd like to ask who, if this HUD appointed consultant has been identified yet, and who that is. Additionally, a question for Mr. Baker is, why is there going to be a dedicated ADA park, and where is that going to be? Instead of making all of the parks ADA accessible for everyone. So here we have another example of a pattern by Harrisburg City where you're directing disabled people to one specific park. That does not meet the intent of the Americans with Disability Act. And this is a pattern of othering. We have seen this with the unhoused population where they've been directed out of sight, out of mind. So where are you directing the disabled people or children to go? All of the parks should be accessible to everyone. People with disabilities should be able to choose which park they want to go to and have full access. Thank you.
If anyone else, please feel free to come up. We'll just kind of respond to some of the comments that have been made. So I won't do this for every comment, but some of these were addressed yesterday, and I know that it wasn't mentioned in today's presentation. So the city does have a goal of making all parks accessible. This specific park is still in the proposal stage, so there's not a location chosen. If the funds are allocated, then we will come back to the residents to see where they would want the park at. But there is a plan to make all parks accessible, not just one specific park. But since we don't have the funds at this time to make every park accessible at the exact same time, there is a plan to make an ADA accessible park that is proposed. It's not a guarantee, it's just a proposal. So that's why we're floating your idea. So we do appreciate that. As far as the HUD consultant, because this is still in the proposal stage, no one has been chosen. If anyone else would like to speak. Yes, we would ask that you identify yourself, just say who you are and just the area where you live in the city, or, you know, if you're just from the city of Harrisburg, or if you're with an organization and you'd like to represent that organization, if you could say that as well. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Evelyn Hunt, and I live in the 1800 block of State Street. What I'd like and hope is that there will be money available for the 1800 block of Walnut Street up to the end of the city to provide sidewalks for people to be able to get up and down that street without having to walk in the street. Even if it means taking a little bit of the park and putting a retaining wall up and taking that spot, that's better than having people walk in the street. Along that street, we have two establishments where people indulge in alcohol. So I would like the people that are walking on the streets to be on the sidewalks where I believe it would be safer for them. In addition to the sidewalks, I hear you talking about low-income homeowners. What is going to be done for low-income renters? With the state has a program that they have a rebate program for low incomes that deals with renters as well as owners. And sometimes owners of buildings that rent the buildings out, there's work that needs to be done in those buildings. And could there be a way of giving money to or having programs made available to renters that are living in homes that need some help? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Linda Kamak, and I'm a resident of the city. I have been in my home for 65 years. My street, there are oak trees. This has been 3 years I've been fighting for this tree to be taken down or pruned or something. I had to pay for some of the branches to be removed. I'm not coming out of my pocket anymore. I'm a senior citizen. I worked for 30 years teaching in this school district, and I think that's at least I should be owed to me. It's hanging over our roofs, not only my roof, but my neighbor's roofs. I remember back in the day when the Department of Parks and Recreation did come by and prune the trees and keep the trees in order. Those trees haven't been pruned or cut or anything in years, in at least 30-some years. So I would like some of that money to be dedicated to go to that. And I've spoken with Mr. Baker numerous times. The trees on our block were on the one side of our street was the concrete was coming up from the sidewalk. So they came and they put this rubber sidewalk down on that block. That's the only block in the entire city that has that sidewalk. They didn't want to take the tree down, but the branches are huge and they are hovering over people's roofs. So I would like some of that money to be dedicated to that, please. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Rafika Muhammad. Welcome to everybody. I'm gonna turn around this way, but I want to talk to y'all. I want to piggyback off what Miss Linda said, and also somebody else came up here and said about our trees. I would really like to see money being spent, not just on the trees, but hiring some people to do the work. Because it seems like we can't get nobody in the department. Every time we hear there's no money to hire people. So I think I heard something about funds to help with hiring. So we can get some of that money to hire people to actually doing the work instead of constantly contracting. Can we employ some of our people in Harrisburg? Because it seems like we're just not employable here to do anything. So can we focus on some of our people in this city, create some jobs right here, and hire some people here to help do the work? We've even brought in someone from the state, DCNR, to come and train some of our youth to do just this. And it got disbanded by our department head. So we need to redirect some of this and really put it in. The trees are an issue. And y'all know I've talked about this for a minute. But we need employment and we need people to know how to do it properly, train our youth. Maybe that'll reduce the gun violence. I'm very seriously talking that way. But we need to get a grip on the department and things that are being proposed to the city. But please look at those dollars. Just don't give it to them. But let's hire some of our people in our community.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make comment or have questions or anything regarding this proposal?
Good afternoon or evening. I'm Bill Kalogi. I run the newsstand at the Harrisburg train station, Transit News, and I am here on behalf of me and the other downtown and other businesses that have been adversely impacted by the pandemic. Unlike the Flamingo and Mama's Pizza, I'm still in business, but only because I've been determined to continue serving the traveling public and the dozens of people that rely on Harrisburg's last surviving newsstand. Personally, I'm over $32,000 in debt keeping the doors open. Fortunately, I'm in a position where I could absorb that. However, a $10,000 grant for a small business would certainly be appreciated and wish we had it yesterday. But we can wait till tomorrow if it takes that long. Thank you very much.
Hey, y'all, I'm Chris Gibson. I'm the production manager at Open Stage and the co-producer of the new Harrisburg Fringe Festival. And I'm curious, I haven't seen any allocation of funds to the arts in this city. The folks that live here deserve the quality of life and the pride in their community that comes from local artists producing art locally. My friend Dijon Cole was at the meeting yesterday and proposed a fund to be established that could be allow relatively easy access to arts creators in the community for micro grants to help them produce performances or works of art from the city. And I would just like to see some of this money set aside for the quality of life and the representation of everybody in this city and the artists included. Thank you.
I'm Kay Pickering. I live and work in the city. And I'm a housing counselor at the Harrisburg Center for Peace and Justice. Looking at the plan, I see you have up to $10,000 in assistance provided to homeowner occupied units with residents. I don't believe that that's enough. So we have so many, and most of the homes in the city are older. Their sewer pipes have to be replaced. You drive around the city, you see abandoned dwellings. Large number of them are because sewer pipes have to be replaced. Some are more costly than others. I have a tenant that lives on 18th Street, North 18th Street, and her sewer's backing up. She's a renter. You know, if it continues, she'll have to abandon that dwelling. The next renter that comes in lives there 2 or 3 months, then they abandon the dwelling. Then the next renter comes in 2 or 3 months later. Meanwhile, the landlord has their security deposits and their rent. And nothing happens to replace those sewer pipes. It's an ongoing, huge, huge problem in the city. So I think we really, really need to put more money aside for homeowners, and landlords just turn around and sell the property. You know about all the properties that are just being sold and sold and sold over and over and over again. So we really need to think about those dwellings and make them habitable. So I don't think that you have enough money set aside for those needs. Many of the properties are also in foreclosure. And you might not be able to solve the problem of the foreclosures, but then when the homeowner has to leave, the bank is unable to sell the property. Those are some of the abandoned houses you have that money set up for that have been sitting there 10, 12, 20, 30 years that are going to be that you have money set aside to take down. So why not have a program for those dwellings that are foreclosed and can be upgraded and sold again? The banks aren't going to do it, but it's up to our community to recognize the problem and to attack that problem. We need more livable dwellings in the city of Harrisburg. And that would go a great, it's livable dwellings that are going to help solve the homeless problem. And the homeless problem is going to increase if we don't, as a community, attack and save the dwellings that are savable. So I'd like to see much more money put aside for programs that can save dwellings that are structurally good, that can be saved. And I'm willing to help work them.
Good evening. I know my back's to the camera, but I just want to turn this way a little bit, because I know it's hard to hear with the echoes coming off the walls. So if I may, I just want to say, my name is Joe Robinson. I'm the president of the Martin Luther King Leadership Development Institute, and I've been working in partnership with several of our nonprofit and Black and brown businesses in our community over the last 2 years. And one of the things we did in light of this American Rescue Plan money is we had begun speaking with our county commissioners about supporting the nonprofits who are the boots on the ground, providing the services to our community. And so we said to them, you need to set aside some of this money and put it in the hands of the people who are doing the work. That's not only the nonprofits, but the small businesses who are providing the jobs, providing the economic base. That money needs to be put in their hands, local businesses, local nonprofits. It's not enough to go out and do some work, bring a contractor in that lives in, I don't know, you name the county, Bucks County, and bring them to Harrisburg. You know, we want local contractors doing the work. And so we're suggesting, what we said to the county, we'd like you to set aside, and some of those people I'm in partnership with are here tonight, like PAL and Blessed to Give, they're here. And we said, you should set aside, based on the demographics of Dauphin County, it's about 30% African-American and Latino. So set aside $5 million to give to these nonprofits and small businesses who have been significantly impacted during the COVID pandemic. Give them the funds that they so sorely, desperately need. And so they set aside not 5, but they set aside $3 million, but they had about $6 million worth of requests. So I don't know how it's going to work out at the end of the day. But the point is that they were committed to setting it aside. So we're saying here tonight to the council, given the demographics of the city, we're suggesting set aside $15 million of this money and put it in the hands of the nonprofits who are doing the work, in the hands of the small businesses who are providing the services, because it's only going to raise the tax base. It's going to provide jobs. What you were saying, Rafika, it's going to provide jobs. And that's what this is about. We all know the challenges are great and there's never enough money, but these organizations who have been making bricks without straw for so long, and we all know they have been. And so now we have this one opportunity. We may not ever get it again where this much cash comes into our communities. And so let's put it in the hands of those organizations with a proven track record for delivering the much needed services here in our community. That's what this is a one-time opportunity to do that. And I hope that the council will consider that, setting aside, just as the county did, set aside a process, establish a process that organizations can apply for these funds and then put them to work and let them put the money to good use, because you already know they know what to do with it because they've proven themselves. They've been doing it all these years on a shoestring, and now let's give them the needed augmentation with this one-time infusion of cash. So that's what we're suggesting and asking the council to consider, and hopefully there'll be some support for that. Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Good evening. My name is Sheila Dow Ford. I spoke yesterday, so okay, come on up and then I'll wait, okay? I'm going to say the same thing I said yesterday. It's worth repeating.
Good evening. My name is Joyce Vanderhorst Gamble, and I propose that I understand you want to knock down some houses and clean up with getting rid of trees and everything. But Governor Square has been falling down for the last 20 to 30 years. Now, Stephen Chubak came here, invested in the community with his money, and then had to leave because of some wall. So why don't you try to focus? And we have a homeless problem. You got rid of the homeless under the bridge. Now they're further over there to the DMV. Fix up Governor Square and support those tenants in what they're dealing with, the backed up sewer, the mold, and the management there is terrible. Maintenance needs work. So as a community and as a city council, let's do something in our own backyard first with affordable housing. And don't let them sit another 20 years.
Good evening. My name is Sheila Dow Ford, and I'm a resident of Harrisburg, and I am a member of the Impact Harrisburg organization, which has, under the auspices of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, was several years ago given $12.3 million to help within the economic development realm within the city of Harrisburg. You heard Ms. Hill reference the Neighborhood Business Stabilization Program. We were the administrator of that program. That was during the height of the pandemic. We did also a couple of other, we actually administered a few other grant programs. Once again, we did so under the auspices of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, but that was at the direction that was provided under the Harrisburg Strong Plan. And that was put in place because the city was in fiscal insolvency. That was some years back. It is worth reminding everyone that we still operate under the Harrisburg Strong Plan. That, as others have said, there is a need, as was articulated under the Strong Plan, for a robust economic development program in the city of Harrisburg that improves the tax base, that really does put properties back on the tax rolls to the extent that it can, that looks at the nonprofit and for-profit sectors and says, this is how we can build up this community. And that also looks at those in our community, Black and brown folks who have been marginalized when it comes to economic development. That's real. It is stated in that plan, which serves as a Bible, as a template. And when I say Bible, I mean small b, as the benchmark, as the roadmap we are to use as we continue to rebuild the city. Last night, those of us who were present talked about the city council and the administration developing a template, okay, a vision and mission for how they're going to go about utilizing these funds. I think that that's a holistic approach, and I think that each person who spoke here tonight provided elements of what should be considered. I would submit that you have the comprehensive plan, which was a document that was worked on for a number of years. That is an extant document that can serve in some way, shape, or form as a template for how you deliberate and do your work. I would also suggest, as I stated last night, that you look at the demography of your community and that you figure out a way within your vision and mission to address the needs of any particular demographic group. Okay, there's nothing wrong with doing it that way, but you have to find a way to plan your work and then to work your plan. I think that what we're looking for, I speak for myself, but also for others, is a coherent plan that really does show transparency and thoughtfulness and consideration of the constituencies within this city. Finally, I'll finally add that that we started by talking about the young people. We need to work with the school district and with other partners. We need to form partnerships and collaborate effectively with other entities to leverage our dollars, okay? To really create additional impact with those dollars to build something that is bigger than ourselves and that will last a very, very long time. And I would only end by asking the following question. It is my understanding, and I'm going to turn this way, forgive me, but I wanted some clarification on whether or not the $500,000 proposed allocation for this small business economic development program is a grant or a loan. I thought of it as a grant, which is what the MBSP was. But I heard this evening that it is a loan, that these are $10,000 microloans. I think we need clarification around so much of this. I understand that it is conceptual. I would only ask that each of you take seriously your engagement with others in our community who bring expertise, passion, and power. Thank you very much.
Just some clarification, that was just a misspeak, and it is actually a grant, not a loan. And please feel free to come up. I was just clarifying that. Please come on up.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, city council, the mayor. Robert Williams, lifelong resident of 45 years of Harrisburg. I want to give my suggestions for the money. Hold on, let me break this down. My first suggestion for the $8 million is affordable housing program that allocates funds that prioritize mixed development. And the mixed development is important because when you mix different incomes in the same place, you get less stigmatized. It's better for the community. Also, the home repair grants, I suggest develop a transparent and equitable application process, prioritize projects that address health and safety hazards, improve energy efficiency, or increase accessibility for disabled residents, implement a system for tracking the impact of the repair grants and measure their success for future allocations. As far as the allocating the money for the trash, I feel as though it should be redirected for emergency rental assistance to prevent evictions and homelessness, financial counseling, home ownership, education programs, and support community land trust and cooperative housing models. As far as the small business grants, I feel as though they should be prioritized business that provide affordable housing services that support the community stability. That's pretty much everything. I have some concerns. I have a concern about the $900,000 that's allocated for the fire department. I noticed that he said that they were sharing with other municipalities. I feel those municipalities are sharing the expense of the $900,000 if possible. What else? Well, I have a lot. As far as the community land grants, I suggest the community land, the community land trust, I suggest community land trust because it actually keeps housing affordable because it's basically, you lock in the land, which keeps the prices of the homes down. So someone can't buy and just flip it to someone else and make money. So it actually keeps homes affordable. Also, I would suggest looking into actually making homes affordable. I've noticed some of the other affordable housing that's been done in the city has been ridiculous prices, like $250,000 for houses that's not even worth $250,000. I have suggestion of looking into 3D printing homes that really makes housing affordable. It's less expensive if you go that route. So look into 3D printing for homes. Let me see. All right, as far as the earmarking of the $3 million, I suggest a workforce development and training program, investing in programs that provide job training, workforce development for lower income residents. The programs can help residents gain valuable skills, leading to higher paying jobs, increase economic mobility. And I have a suggestion for infrastructure improvements, allocate funds to improve local infrastructure focused on areas with high concentration of affordable housing for lower income residents. Examples including upgrading sidewalks and public spaces, improving street lighting, and enhancing public transportation and access to these improvements. I have a suggestion as far as I have a lot. So, I have a lot. Community development and revitalization project, support the community-driven revitalization efforts such as public art installation, community gardens, and neighborhood beautification projects. Expand mental health and substance abuse services. Invest in mental health and substance abuse services for lower income residents, including crisis intervention, counseling, and group support. Create a fund to incentivize developers, create financial incentives for developers who commit to including affordable housing units in their project or preserving existing affordable units. But I haven't noticed, I think that it should be funds allocated to people that are losing their house to taxes. Also, I can go on forever. Like, seriously, I'm just going to end. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Can you please submit those in writing? So we were trying to capture them quickly. Okay. Well, if you could email them to publiccomment@harrisburgpa.gov just to make sure we captured everything correctly. But thank you so much. Is there anyone else? Please.
One of my table mates said, "Oh Lord," when they saw me get up. But for those of you that don't know me, my name is Kia Hansard, lifelong resident of the city. So just a couple things. The first thing is, why are we building this aquatic park? I'm like having a hard time with that, especially when, and Robert spoke to it, as a lifelong resident, as a homeowner, a lot of our basic needs aren't being met. My sidewalks need fixed. There isn't enough lighting. Why aren't we doing those types of things first? Secondly, I'm all for providing something for the kids. I used to go to the pool out Hall Manor. So I'm not saying that there shouldn't be something there, but does it need to be what we're proposing? Have we looked at what it would cost to put in a new pool and compare that to what we're proposing now? And then the other piece to that too is what you are proposing, what is going to be the cost for maintaining that moving forward? And are we in a financial position to do that? My other question is, there's going to be $1.2 million to cover the administrative costs of running Parks and Rec. Can we speak to what that is? Why are we, I don't know what that means. If someone can elaborate on that. And then the third thing I want to say is that nowhere in this plan do I see any support to our elders. There are a lot of elderly in our city, one of which is my mother. She just turned 83 this year, and her roof needs fixed. She's retired. She's put in her work. She doesn't have $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 to replace her roof. So as we talk about economic development, part of that is retaining the people that are on our tax rolls. Because if people can't afford to keep their houses or afford to maintain their houses, they're going to leave. So I would like to see something specific to the elderly in this community to support them in their houses with providing repairs, whatever. So those are my comments.
To our illustrious and esteemed mayor, to all council members, and all community leaders assembled here. My name is A.J. Brawley. We've been residing in this city almost 30 years. We've been pastoring the Second Baptist Church, the oldest African-American Baptist church in Harrisburg. I believe and solely support the various ministries that are in this city. But God gave me and the parishioners of Second Baptist Church a solemn charge to help the outcast, the downtrodden. Let me introduce our architect, Mr. Thompson. I asked him to come along with me this evening. We have a project at 1613A North 5th Street. It's been 5.5 years we've been laboring in the vineyard. At our church, we have a daycare center. You talk about underprivileged children. We don't refuse nobody. And if we can't help you, when we direct you to a path of someone in the Harrisburg area that can support. Now, let me go back to AJB. We've been there almost 5 years. And I say this with a spirit of conviction that our neighborhoods are in trouble. We have been mentoring individuals that are walking in their mode of sobriety for that length of time. We have about 2,400 square feet of space. We're at capacity. And we want to expand the program. And we have the room to expand the program right on the premise. We are willing to do what we can while we can. And I might add also the third ministry that God has given us to start a safe haven for homeless women. Listen to my vernacular, please. And children. Why is this so essential? Can I say this to you? We are located at 424 Foster Street, and not a day that go by that someone is not knocking on our door, hungry, nowhere to stay, out of a job. With this threefold ministry, all of the various entities that I just mentioned to you, we work it through the AJB ministry. But we need support to bring these various entities to fruition. I thank God for our mayor and council working so diligently together to help the community at large. I must say it's an uphill climb, and I don't say this in a braggadocious encounter. We shall get there if we only polarize ourselves in unity. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to make public comment, have any questions, comments, or concerns, ideas? Please feel free to come to the microphone.
Isha Mobley. I work with the street homeless in the city of Harrisburg. So I've heard about the affordable housing, so I just want to have a conversation about that word, affordable. What does that mean exactly? My favorite words are low income, so that we can really be specific about who we're trying to help. When I'm out there helping the street homeless, the median income of the senior that I'm helping is $900 a month. So if an apartment is starting with 8 in front of the number, they are not going to be able to afford it. They cannot afford, our homeless can't afford the application fees. That is a huge gap in services. Application fees range from $35 per application to $75, or if they charge you per person on the application. There's gaps in security deposits. Landlords now want 3 times the rent just to walk into that little hobbit hole they call a 1-bedroom. Or some of them they call 2-bedroom, and the other bedroom looks like a closet. And they're asking people for $3,000 to walk in that door. I work for Christian Churches United. We are doing all we can. We have serviced over $1 million worth of money in housing So we have had to limit when we do the RAP application, which is the rental assistance application, to the 20th of the month, because we get about 150 applications when they open it for just 1 week. And we can't service all of those people. So there's huge gaps right there. So affordable, what does that mean exactly? So $500 a month is affordable. For the senior who gets $850 or $900 a month, 500 is still too high. So more like $350 a month. Because when you're looking at the housing choice vouchers, they're paying 70% of the rent, right? And then the person has to pay 30%. That keeps it about 300 or less for that person, and that's affordable. And of course, when the city opened the housing voucher option, right, what did they get? Over 3,000 applications, and we're only able to pull maybe 1,000 of those. Huge gaps. So that's where my heart lies. What are we doing for our street homeless? What are we doing to be able to house folks, keep them housed, and address some of those gaps and getting them housed? I know Kay Pickering, we work hard together. We're helping bills, we're helping get people in, but we don't have any money. We begging churches, the churches are trying to keep their doors open and they're tapped out. So yes, those are some of the gaps that we have and could use some of that money for. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Justice. I just wanted to ask, some of this money that we have available and going into some of the projects that you guys are trying to put forth, what about our youth who's dealing with human trafficking? Our organization works with individuals that's dealing with human trafficking from the age of 8 to the age of 24. We've been out on the streets. I will also do outreach with Ms. Mobley and everyone else, and we're seeing these kids out here on the streets and they don't have anywhere to go. One day we were standing outside and kids were playing around. I went over there to these children and they started playing and interacting to me. That's how easy that your kids can be stolen or taken away from you. Where's our safe houses that we can put for our kids that we're working with now in Dauphin County right now? The services that we have to give, how can we help those individuals that's been human trafficked and have nowhere to go and don't have a safe place to go, for us to be able to come up with some fundings for getting a safe house, putting a safe house together, instead of sending their victims to different states or different places, because I have nowhere to house them. So I'm asking everyone, Council and the Mayor, and I appreciate the Mayor, she did a wonderful job with helping Justice House of Hope the other year with one of the grants that we received. But we need to know, what are we doing with these youth that's outside on the streets? What are we doing to protect them? Where's the safety coming in? Where's the education coming in? Where's the peace to keep all of us together, working together? Or how can you take one of those abandoned houses that you guys want to knock down, and why can't we fix some of these houses that we have that's already in the community for our safe house for the victims that's in our community? And those people who look like us and walk like us and talk like us. So what we can do with that $8 million? How can we help our community with these children who's being victims of human trafficking? And I just want to thank you for listening to me.
Is there anyone else that would like to make any comments or make any suggestions regarding the ARPA funding? Go. Going once. Going twice. All right, I'm going to open the floor up to any of my colleagues, as well as the mayor or anyone else here that would like to make any comments. She said you can go first.
Good evening again, everyone. I just want to thank you very much for our conversation and our discussion this evening. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your long list, Mr. Williams. We appreciate you but we appreciate everyone seriously and all of your commentary. Please know that your time, your attention to the matter, and your comments are heard. That's why we're here. We really wanted to take an opportunity to hear from residents and members of the public regarding the proposal that we received. We don't want to rush this process. We do want to take our time. We know that the clock is ticking. 2024 will be here before we know it. But again, we'd like to ensure that your interests and visions for this dream funding are heard and perhaps realized. So thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you on Saturday. If you'd like to participate, we do have one more town hall scheduled at Mount Olive Baptist Church from 11 to 1 p.m. Is it 1331 South 14th Street? Okay. Well, thank you. Oh, okay. We have additional commentary. That's fine.
Yes. All right, so this is a shameless plug. We have elected officials here, and part of our jobs as, residents and registered voters is making sure that we make informed choices when it's time to vote. So we have an election coming up. Our group is having a candidate forum at John Harris on April 26th. It will start at 6 p.m. We will have a city council debate. There are 8 people running for council. There are only 3 seats. So you need to come out and see who's running, hear their platforms. So again, that you can make an informed choice on May 16th. We hope to see all of you there. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a few housekeeping notes. Please don't forget, you can share written comment. Please email it to publiccomment@harrisburgpa.gov. We will receive it and include it with our notes from these meetings. The PowerPoint presentations, as you came in, when you signed in, there were 3 separate presentations. I know we did run out of a few copies, but please know that they are all available online review. If you Gov under City Council, you can view the PowerPoints there. Anything else? Okay, I'm not sure of the time, but thank you again for joining us this evening. Mayor Williams, would you like to offer any comments? Okay, thank you. And thank you for joining us tonight.
Good evening, everyone, and how's everyone doing? I'm a little perplexed at some of the comments that's coming here tonight and last night. Most of you might not be familiar about what's going on. First of all, I want to correct some of those comments. First and foremost, when it comes to senior citizens, they are my priority. When it comes to children and youth, they are my priority. Affordable housing tops it all. For the affordable housing piece, you talked about the senior citizens. I'm well aware of how much their income is on a monthly basis. So when I talk to developers, I'm not looking at $900. We have 2 developers getting ready to put the shovel to the ground. And you will look at prices between $600 and $650 accordingly, okay? At 60, that's 51 houses in the corridor of Regina Street, both affordable houses. And when it comes to tree cutting, we try to make sure that senior citizens who are on a fixed income, we take their trees down. We do not have a lot of funding for tree removal. To your question, Ms. Rafrika, to the lady in the back, of course, thank you so much for doing the job that you do, being out on the street Friday and Saturday night. We did allocate $125,000 to help you. And of course, we're looking to help you again. Thank you for saving those 20 young women that you recently saved. I appreciate that. And I want to give you a hand. Most of you don't know what's going on in City Harrisburg, and I'm available on Fridays. If you want to know anything, please come and talk to me. I will make sure that all the questions that you have or all comments that you make are accurate. And another statement to the benefit of economic development, we have 123 new businesses in the city of Harrisburg to date. And I heard that I am incompetent. Well, I'm so incompetent that we had $638 million in debt, and today we're debt-free. That's how incompetent. And I started and ended. And also, when it comes to minority businesses, we're looking at minority business. We have given you quite a few bit of money in the last 3 or 4 years. Of course, we did allocated 500,000, and we're looking at also making sure that we help out those businesses who were hurt by COVID. We didn't forget anyone. And I want to make sure everyone here, this money is not for me. It's not for council. It's for you. Okay? And I'm not sitting there saying what we can do with it to beautify the city of Harrisburg's MLK building. We've already have funding for that. We're going to do that. In the next 3 to 6 months, we're going to start renovating the atrium of the Harrisburg City Council and chambers and the mayor's office and the atrium. But that's money that was in a grant. We've gotten over $23 million of grant money this year due to the fact that we have a great grant writer, Rebecca, and we need to give her a hand. And when it comes to sidewalks, sidewalks are the responsibility of the landlord and our homeowner. The city of Harrisburg does not replace sidewalks. We had to replace the sidewalk on 16th Street because of the fact that we had pipes and stuff that we had to also change. But we do not replace sidewalks. So there's some things that you don't know and they're accurate. When you come up here and you want X, Y, and Z, please just ask. I'm here. I have Ms. Hill here. I have Mr. Hartman here. We'll answer any questions that you have. And I thank you again for coming.